Now I will be showing you how to code for continuous and start-stop behaviors. So these are just two different ways of coding, and I will also be showing how to code vocalizations because it does take a little bit more time in getting used to, but with some practice you'll get a hang of it. So for the continuous behaviors, most of these behaviors on our coding scheme are continuous. The only ones that are start-stop will be self-regulatory behaviors and protest behaviors. As you can see, these are the start codes and these are the stop codes. So I will get to those in a minute. But as you code from the top, these are the easiest behaviors to code. Closeness of the infant, the direction they're moving in, and as you get to the bottom, they do get slightly more difficult. So the procedure is to always begin with the first behaviors on the coding scheme and code the entire video for one behavior and then move on to the next. And code the entire video for the next one and then so on and so forth. So for continuous coding, I'm going to go back to the start. And in this video, I'm just going to code the book task, so I can go ahead and use this timestamp here and select the book. When it's highlighted like this, you don't want to go ahead and start coding because it'll overwrite this code that you have for book and completely delete it from the data visualization, which is not good for later on when we need to run analyses. So I'm going to use the spacebar and just let it play for a second until it's no longer highlighted, and just making sure nothing else is highlighted either. So I know the book task has just started, and I'm going to code closeness of the infant. I will always have a printed out version of the coding scheme next to me because it does have a broader description of each behavior, and it's a little bit easier to read than on the computer. So we have infant is within the immediate area, 3 feet. Infant is within playmat zone, 3 to 9 feet. And infant is on the opposite side of the room, which is 9 feet and on. We also have printed out a picture of the lab in this video with those lines of the 3 and 9 feet marked. So you need to have that next to you as well. So first, I can see that this infant is right outside of the 3 feet zone. And I'm going to open up the data visualization here and scroll down, and I can see that it already started coding with infant is within playmat zone. That is one of the features of the continuous coding. It will always begin with one of the codes. So I'm just going to let it play until that infant either enters the 3 feet zone or the 9 foot. So as you can see here, the infant has just entered the 3 foot zone with this part of their body. And that code is going to be C3. So make sure again caps lock is on. C3. You can see here it switches.
Before I came today, a fig and berry tart.
And if we continue to let it play, you can see that they stay within that 3 feet zone. We're looking at the lines in the picture we have printed out. They move closer to mom, so still 3 feet zone. It looks like they might be heading back, but they still stay within the 3 feet zone.
And a blueberry chut pie.
And as you get used to coding as well, I just kind of hover over the letter on the keyboard that I'm coding for, so C. And as soon as I see the infant heading out to the zone, as they make that step over the 3 foot line, I'll press C, and it'll pause the video until you complete the code. So until you press 2 or 3 or 1. So they're still within that 3 foot zone, and right here, he has stepped out of the 3 foot zone. So I clicked C, and it has paused until I finish the code. So it's going to be C2. And you can see down here that it's switched automatically. I don't need to shut off or necessarily stop the last code. it'll just automatically switch it to the one that I coded for.
Yes, they do.
Now I will be going over how to code the start and stop coded behaviors. So I'm going to go back to the beginning of book task, and I'm also going to open up the data visualization for those two. So here they are, protest and self-regulatory. And as you can see, it does not have a code that it starts with from the beginning. It's blank for now until we start coding, because we are the ones that start and stop the code. So those protest and self-regulatory behaviors are right here on the side. And here's the start and the stop. The stop code is just the lowercase version of the start code. So capital P4 to start it and lowercase p4 to stop it. So here for an example,
They have
for protest, we want to also have the vocalizations on.
Oh, I should have had lunch before I came today. A fig and berry tart and a mango chiffon pie and a berry and cherry.
So that I heard was whining.
Wonderful.
So I'm going to go back after hearing the full sound that the infant made.
Oh, I should have had lunch before I came today. A fig and berry tart and a mango chiffon pie
and I paused it as soon as they made the sound. So we're going to go ahead. The code is P2, so capital P2. And then pause it as soon as they finish, and now we need to shut off the code. So we take off the caps lock and do P2. And you'll see this very small line. So that's why we do need to be pretty exact with the start-stop, as well as when it comes to vocalizations, because these behaviors happen very rarely, I would say, or just not as often as the rest of the behaviors. So we want to be as accurate as we can when it comes to coding them. An example of this with the self-regulatory behaviors is when the infant looks away. This one does take a little bit more time coding, so I'll usually, for both of these, I'll split up the behaviors, and I'll do one watch through coding for two of them, and then I'll do another watch through coding for the other two. So for this one, for the infant looking away from the parents, it would be S4 and then lowercase s4. So currently, the infant is looking at the parent. So we'll just let it play.
And a tropical cream
until they look away. And I'm actually going to go back just a little bit to capture right when he looks away. So caps lock on, S4. And if you see down here, it says repeated scoring of active events have been ignored. The event has been discarded. So it says that that event was already active. If there was an error, you would see one of these in red. So what I do sometimes is I'll just do Control Z, and it'll undo the last thing that I did. So now I can see here I already had S4 on. I already had it started. And I can fix that by finding it in the timestamps here. And I can see it right here. Infant looks away. So to fix this, I can either scroll over, right click this box, and delete the event, or I can update the time. So to update the time, you would just let it play until the point that they look away. Go back to the code, infant looks away, and update the time. And it's saying the timestamp cannot exceed timestamps of earlier or later events. So what I would do in this case is just to delete that code. You see it got rid of it here. And I'll just recode it at this updated time. So that's going to be S4.
Pretty high.
I can see it's blank here. Do it one more time. S4, and there we go. And then as soon as the infant looks back at the parent, I'm going to stop the code. So now we do take off caps lock, S4. And there it is right there. Now when it comes to coding for vocalizations, this is continuous. So the V3 code is neutral or no vocalizations. So we'll be on that one for most of the time. Right here. We also have high intensity negative, low intensity positive, and high intensity positive. What I recommend is to have, let yourself listen to the entire duration of the vocalization that the infant is making. So if they cry, listen to the entire cry, because sometimes it'll start off a bit more neutral or positive and end very negative. So you'll have to switch between the two, but it's good to give yourself a quick listen to it before you code it. And then I will go back and mark where the codes are. So for this one, I would say that one was more neutral. That one was just a and then that one, it seemed like he was getting fussy. So I would say that is on the higher intensity of the negative, especially for this infant. You also kind of get to know what is the level of high intensity and low intensity for each infant. Some of them never get to the point of screaming, and some of them are on that higher intensity the entire duration. So that's why it's good to have the volume on while you're coding. So since I already listened to it, I'm going to go back to code it. And that is where the high intensity starts. Right there. So it's going to be capital V5. And it's done. So we'll switch it back to neutral or no vocalization. So V3. And then it says unknown key code. So I'm just going to do Control Z again, go back. I see I had deleted this, so good thing I went back. Capital V3. There we go. I might have pressed the wrong letter, and that's why I said it was an unknown key code, because there was no codes that followed what I had clicked on the keyboard.